Motivation is the driving force that sustains goal-oriented behaviors. In this video, I want to teach you two different kinds of motivations and which form of motivation is going to lead you to the most beautiful life that is possible for you. So I want to talk about intrinsic motivation as opposed to extrinsic motivation. And right off the bat, I'm going to list examples of both. So intrinsic motivation involves passion, excitement, creativity, curiosity, purpose, mastery, sense of freedom and autonomy. It comes from inside of you, right? Intrinsic, internal. Extrinsic motivation comes from the external, right? So doing things for money, status, approval, to avoid punishment, compliance, fame, validation, rewards, recognition. Nothing wrong with a lot of that stuff. It's just that when it comes to your life, you want to be following your intrinsic motivation, the kinds of work you do, the kinds of relationships that you get into. You want this stuff to be guided by the intrinsic qualities that exist inside of you. This is like following your soul's path. This is like your intrinsic motivation is like the deepest parts of your being pulling you to do things, to engage with certain things, to follow a particular life direction. This is how you find your life's purpose. This is how you find this is really how you create the ability to guide yourself through life, right? These are the things that are going to allow you to really create your own direction in life and to really follow through with it. So intrinsic motivation leads to long-term engagement with something, right? When you're intrinsically motivated towards something and deeply aligned with it, you don't just abandon it the next day. So this is how you actually sustain motivation over time. Extrinsic motivation, on the other hand, leads to like burnout. It's exhausting. Right? If you do something exclusively for money or status, by definition, you don't actually really like it because it's not in alignment with your intrinsic motivation. There's nothing wrong with, let's say, making money or status, but when it's fully out of alignment with your intrinsic motivation, you don't actually like it. The core of your being, your soul, isn't telling you to do it, right? Next is higher satisfaction. When you're doing things based off of your intrinsic motivation, once again, this is, of course, way more satisfying and fulfilling than doing things for extrinsic motivation. When you're doing things out of extrinsic motivation, it's like some external force is basically controlling you without your real awareness of it. When it's intrinsic motivation, your own internal forces, right? The deepest parts of your being are what's motivating your behavior. This is really what you want to be motivating your behavior. Next is creativity and innovation. Intrinsic motivation makes you far more creative, right? Because you're not really doing things based off of societal convention or expectations, culture, all the things you've been like conditioned with. You're not doing things based off the external world. You're allowing your internal qualities and intuitions and natural gifts to like emerge, right? This is nature's agenda for you. It's like your natural blueprint for your existence is like manifesting into the world. Next is just improved psychological health. When you actually do things based off intrinsic motivation, it feels pretty damn good, right? You actually build self-esteem this way because there's a deeper connection to yourself that is going to be occurring. I have a video on self-esteem, maybe made it 1 or 2 weeks ago. I think it's called This Is What True Self-Esteem Is. Check it out, really good. Next is a greater ability to regulate yourself and a deeper sense of overall freedom within yourself, right? Because when you're connecting to yourself by doing things out of your own intrinsic motivation, this is a very regulating force. It's healthy on the mental level, the emotional level, the physical level, spiritual level. Next is enhanced performance and quality. When you're doing things, again, out of intrinsic motivation, right? You actually just love the thing. It's just like a love that comes pouring out of you into the thing that you're doing, what you are placing your attention on. This also has a lot of positive impacts on your relationships. You're going to basically attract people into your life because you're doing what's authentic for you. I believe I have a video called Your Authenticity Attracts What Your Soul Wants. You can watch that. It's going to help you out with understanding the point that I just made. But when you're doing things based off intrinsic drivers, intrinsic motivation, you will align with people who fit with you the best. And next is just long-term career satisfaction. Very predictable. When your career is based off of your intrinsic motivation, you love your career, right? Big, big shock. So extrinsic motivation leads to dependency on rewards, short-term focus, right? It leads to pressure and stress. Extrinsic motivation overall is not fulfilling, and it's relatively unhealthy. When the behavior that you're doing is exclusively based off of extrinsic motivation, right? When it's way more towards the extrinsic motivation side of the spectrum, it's not comfortable. It's out of alignment with you. It's not actually something that your soul wants, the core of your being wants, your deepest instincts want. You're probably doing it out of fear, out of lack, scarcity. Right? So think of it like a spectrum. All the way on this side intrinsic, all the way on this side extrinsic. Right? And you want to really lean to the intrinsic as much as possible. You want to build your life on intrinsic motivation. This process can take time. Right? Because we live in a world where we need money, a little bit of status, right? Validation, agreements with other people, in order to get accepted, right? And funny enough, when you actually live in alignment with your soul, life actually supports you. When you live in harmony with yourself and your environment, life supports you. Right? You will actually make money because you're going to be contributing real healthy value to the world because it's what you actually love. Right? So I'm not saying that we get rid of extrinsic motivation or money or status or fame or any of this stuff. This is all fine. I'm saying that the things that you're doing in your everyday life, if they're very far out of alignment with your intrinsic motivation, you're going to suffer quite a lot. And that pain and suffering is literally telling you that you're out of alignment, that you're not supposed to be doing this thing. Right? When you're doing it out of intrinsic motivation, it's like you can just burst open with love. It's genuine. It's authentic. Right? You're actually following your alignment, what you really want. Right? So of course we actually do need to balance extrinsic and intrinsic motivators. Right? So you just don't want external rewards to be the sole focus, to be the primary focus. And you really want to be very honest with yourself about this as well. Because when I give you a little bit of leeway, right? When I give you a little bit of an opportunity to just be extrinsically motivated, right? The mind can easily use this to kind of slip through and just continue on with the same old, right? And just really honestly, are the things you do out of intrinsic motivation? If if money didn't exist, would you go to work tomorrow? Would you be doing a lot of the same things you do if, they didn't lead to validation or acceptance from others? And of course, acceptance from others is fine. We need the connection and belonging. But when it's exclusively based off of the external thing, this is actually leading to psychological, emotional, physical, and spiritual illness within you. It's a very disconnecting habit. Right? And really experiment with both sides of the spectrum. Really feel the difference, right? If you can't really feel what I'm talking about, feel the difference between the two. Like really try different things and be like, oh, this is what extrinsic motivation feels like. And it's like, oh yeah, I burn out fast and I don't really I can feel instinctually in my body that I don't really want this. Right? On some level, sure, having money is awesome, but it's like when it really comes down to it, I want to give my greatest gifts to the world. I want to pour my soul into the world. This is really what I want. Right? And then you do things out of intrinsic motivation, whatever that is, painting, singing, building stuff with your hands if that's what you love. It doesn't have to just be art and stuff like that. It's whatever you find meaning in, purpose in. what you're passionate about, the things that fit your psychology and value system in a very natural and organic way. Right? You actually feel way healthier. Right? Doing those things becomes a joy. You get into the flow state very easily. You feel connected to life. It just instinctually feels better. That's the key word here. Or the key point, I mean. Just on a very instinctual, intuitive level, it's right. And you really don't have to gaslight that deepest instinct that you have. You can really begin to actually trust your own deepest instincts. You can really trust your intuition. You can trust yourself. Instead of your mind coming in and overthinking everything and gaslighting yourself. Right. That's it for this video. You can apply to work with me one-to-one. Link is in the pinned comment and the description. Take it easy.